I know what one of the biggest problems facing the entire fucking world, especially the Western hemisphere today. It's the very notion, the very concept of collective or slash whatever you want to call it, preemptive punishment. This is something that I've known my whole life, actually, and it's only now at 45 years of age where the whole picture has now been mostly painted in a certain aspect for me to come to the realization that, whether I go all the way back to when I was just a small child going into, elementary school, all the way up till now, there's countless examples that I can recollect of, whether it's in school, little Johnny, was chewing gum or did something, and the class gets penalized, or little Susie was acting out, throwing hissy fits, so the field trip was canceled, or you're out in the playground, a couple of boys get into a fight, and somebody got a nosebleed, and next thing you know, everybody's being treated like as if you're violent criminals, all the students. I mean, this has happened on so many parents, right? Parents growing up, this was famous. I guess this was the old world way of raising children, is rule through fear, right? That's think about it. Predominantly that was because it's easy. Rule through fear. So parents do it too. Beat you or do something just in case, or I mean, actually, it goes all the way up to in the modern, even in a work type environment. I've worked in construction outfits. Think about construction outfits where most of them are genuinely real masculine type men for the most part. So that's why I don't mind that industry. I actually prefer it. But I've even seen situations where a boss, somebody makes a mistake. I've seen a situation where an idiot, someone had taken down a guardrail, when you're building homes, before they put in the actual permanent guardrails, you put temporary guardrails in, for the idiots that don't know how to walk. But even then, there's still, you can't watch you could have, let's say you have 50 houses on the go, you can't watch them all at once, and even by the time you circle back through them, in between the time from house 1 to house 50 again, somebody could have fallen down the hole, right? Someone that's not obviously paying any fucking attention to what they're doing. But if that happens, then, like I said, then you end up with this big, gigantic safety meetings. And now everybody's having more and more, restrictions on what they do. The other people in the workforce or in the workplace, that none of them, they're not stupid. But this is what collective and preemptive punishment does. It's a race to the fucking bottom. It's okay, because you got these losers, the lowest of the low in society, that fuck up or idiotic or were raised by vicious parents and they turn out to be violent individuals. But this is what collective punishment is we're going to fucking treat society and restrict their actions to the point where we got to try to preemptively restrict them enough that they'll never be able to do what this. But all you're doing is taking away freedoms and rights and freedom, for the most part, from fucking people that didn't fuck up. I mean, that goes all the way through to my impaired charge that I got, which almost destroyed my entire fucking adult life in my 40s. In my early 40s. I didn't have an accident. I was on a four-wheeler, had a few beer, blah, 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 get charged with impaired as a truck driver with an impaired charge. Well, you lose your job, your livelihood. I mean, anyone that's a truck driver knows you need a driver's abstract and a criminal search done. So even after your mandatory minimum punishment's over, after the government's run you through the ringer a few fucking thousand times and raked you over the coals and robbed you blind, taking your respect, your dignity, and everything that you hold dear as someone like myself, like a man, taking that all away from you. And what was it for? when I think about today, and this is something I'll never forget, I get over it. I guess you have to and move on. But why was I treated the way I was treated? Why was my life turned upside down? Because some fucking idiots on the fucking planet don't know how to handle their fucking drink, go out in their personal vehicles, out on the roadway somewhere, and end up fucking killing a family of 4 or 5. Which, I mean, I have kids. They're adults now, but I raised 2 kids that, yeah, of course, any normal human being's against someone being drunk out of their fucking tree driving down the road, swerving all over the fucking place, and, you know. Yeah, they're a fucking hazard to anyone's health. But that doesn't mean that someone like myself has to be punished for being on an ATV that has actually not just normal skills riding or driving. I mean, I've always been. But like I said, collective punishment, preemptive punishment, it's all about, we're going to set an example. They even say this shit all the time. If anyone's ever been into a courthouse or a schoolhouse or jailhouse or a prison, it's always the same thing. We're going to set an example, you know. So somebody fucks up and the rest of the people have to be punished preemptively or collectively as a way to send a message kind of deal. Well, what does that do to the person? I know what it did to fucking me. It didn't actually make me want to fucking be a better person. Now, because, you know, I'm a decent, moral human being, I mean, I'm going to be me no matter what. But I tell you, in reality, the only thing it's done to me as far as like, well, it hasn't deterred me in any way. I won't speak as to whether I would or would not, or whether I did subsequently. But like I said, trying to fucking destroy a man's life preemptively by using preemptive or collective punishment, mandatory minimums, which is what it is, or any form of collective punishment, like I said, whether it's in school, is never, and I mean, you don't even have to go by my opinion. That's the crazy part of it is, and I've saved all the articles, CBC, CTV, all the, I think Huffington Post might have at one point in time in Canada, but in StatsCan themselves, government's own fucking statistics centers, you know, government funded, says that, yeah, collective punishment, you know, preemptive punishment, mandatory minimums, harsher sentencing, all, it has never, ever, ever shown or to be a correlation or have any direct effect to reducing crime. Of course it doesn't. Fucking with someone that's not a criminal and turn them into a criminal when they're not a criminal. I mean, think about that for a sec now. Obviously, you're not helping anybody in society. I can't even think to this day one human being that benefited, especially in the small community that I was living in, you know, at the time of the offense or whatever. I can't think of anyone. I think of just even that small community where I lived. I was the one, probably, probably one of maybe 2 or 3 dozen people that probably supported the rest of the hundreds of people in the community, because the rest of them either lived on welfare or fucking, you know, were seniors living on their pensions or blah, blah. So who was benefited? Nobody was, you know, I didn't have an accent, like I say. Who benefited by destroying not just my, you know, my own personal life, my career, you know, taking my job and my livelihood away from me, causing me, you know, costing me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of added fucking debt for what? I mean, that's the thing. You take a man's job and his livelihood away, and then you want to charge him thousands of dollars after that. And like I say, who benefited from it? I can't actually think of anybody. I can think of actually a lot of people that lost out as a consequence of someone that was making, you know, good money and, you know, paying my taxes and blah 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 and helping everybody else in the community. I just, like I said, but it is something it's something we have to start talking about on a, I find, like, for me, because it's kind of a personal thing, but it's something that I know, even though not as many people are willing to speak up and talk about this stuff like I am, I know there are a buttload more that are in positions like myself that maybe this video will help inspire them to speak out themselves. I really do hope so, because I know there's probably a lot of us out there suffering needlessly or being preemptively or collectively punishment for the actions of others. Well, it wasn't. I didn't think it was good or right or just when I was 5, 6 years old in school. When somebody else made a mistake and the whole class is punished, even then I did have no clue about civil liberties, freedoms, rights. I mean, I was too young to understand all the concept or what libertarianism is or any of these things. But I did at least understand that concept. That wait a minute, if this person or if this kid, if this is the one that did the wrong, why do we have to be punished for it? We didn't do anything wrong. I at least understood that. Even as a very, 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 which I think most people do, comment on my videos. Let me know if I'm off base in what I'm saying here, because I value anyone's input. Even if you want to call me an asshole, whatever, you'll get what you give to me, though. That's the thing. I defend myself, but either way, I just like to hear people's opinion. What is your opinion on collective punishment, mandatory minimums, preemptive punishments? I can't see how you could defend it, but by all means, if you feel, if you have an opposing view to me, let me know. Speak up. Or if you actually agree with me, which I believe there are a lot of people out there that do. Even more importantly, I need you. We need you. Everybody, the people around you, the people on the internet, the people that are looking for answers or good moral principles, they need you to speak up. I'm with you, boys and girls. I'm not a big fan of airing my dirty laundry all the time. In my inner circles, I have no problem, actually. And a lot of times I don't mind. But yeah, I like to be a little bit private sometimes myself too. But I'm finding more and more I'm willing to, throw myself a little bit under the bus and put show my own vulnerabilities to kind of explain to people where I'm coming from, It's something that plays heavy on my mind. It's a big reason why I do what I do on a daily basis too, because it's something that has to change. Not just for me and not just for, like look at here in Baltimore or whatever, like martial law and curfews. Once again, what's martial law and curfews? You're punishing the whole city for the actions of a few. Why does everybody else have to suffer for the actions of a fucking few? It's prevalent. And it always comes from government or central plan. It's an authoritarian. Is this like one of the first things you learn when you go into government? Do all control freaks and sociopaths have this built into their psyche? I don't know, but it's a strange thing when we still live in a world in 2015 we live in, people, and you still believe in collectivism, collective punishment, punishing people that haven't done anything wrong for the actions of others. Somewhere deep inside your little mind there, your psyche, that's just completely fucked up. But see, this is what government does. They want to make everybody equal. This is the problem with equal. Equal is the worst fucking thing ever, unless you're talking about just the way the government... who's equal? Equality... Now, the only thing I would agree with when it comes to equality is if there's such things as government, we should all be treated the same way, fairly. But we're not all equal human beings. We participate differently. We're some are better than others. Some are violent. Some aren't. We're not all equal. And to try to force people into equality is to force them down to the lowest common denominator. That's what it is. Equality, what real equality means, if that's what you're trying to forced equality is forcing everyone down to the lowest common denominator. Is that really what you want? That's why all socialists and fascists and communist utopians always fail, is because you don't rise to the top. It always goes to the bottom. It's the wrong way to go about dealing with anything in society or dealing with each other. It's the Canadian Libertarian. I love liberty.